entrepreneur Paul Bacher is the founder and chairman of the National Mentorship Movement. The NMM is more than just an idea. It is the realization of a belief in the power of the innovative spirit of South Africans to make our country great by tapping into the collective knowledge of successful South African business leaders and entrepreneurs. By pairing the experience and knowledge of successful business people with the passion of South Africa's thriving entrepreneurial talent, the National Mentorship Movement is aiming to transform South Africa's economy.
I think at core, I'm a classical fixer, saver, solver. So I'm the kind of guy when I drive down the road and there's a hole in the road, I'm the guy who's on the phone to City of Johannesburg saying, I think we should fill in that road. And I kind of live my life like that. And I think it's a personality trait. I don't think it's because I'm particularly a good Samaritan. I really don't believe that. I think at some level, I've just become someone who really gets enormous pleasure and meaning out of trying to solve challenges. I had a grandmother, Eunice Jacobson, who was head of the Home Comforts Fund in South Africa and got lots of awards for that. She was one of the founders of the Jewish Women's Benevolent. My mother was a huge charity person. She was in the townships every Saturday when I was growing up, before it became popular to do so, teaching nursery school, black women how to be nursery school teachers. My uncle Ali Bacher is well known for being someone who's a huge doer in the community space. So I grew up with like a rich heritage of people sitting around the table, whether it was a Sunday morning, a Sunday lunchtime, or a Shabbos meal, talking about community stuff. So I kind of grew up with it, I think, in my blood a little bit, that this is what you do. When I left varsity, I teamed up with a couple of friends, and we started a business called NetActive, which is one of the early internet service providers, and we listed it. And over a period of about 12 years, we were in a number of businesses. And it was a wonderful journey. And we were successful. I had started a charity 10 years ago called AltJet. I got 12 friends around a table. Again, I saw a gap. I thought, how do we help Jewish businesses that are in trouble? I'd been learning the laws of tzedakah with a wonderful man, a friend of mine, Gerald Kaplan. The Rambam has 8 levels of charity. And the highest level is keep someone in business or put them into business, keep someone in a job or put them in a job. In other words, financial stability. And of course we understand that for a community to be healthy, one of the foundations is financial stability. So when I learned that, I thought, well, why don't we take the management consulting concept where a McKinsey would come in, a business would be in trouble, like a large corporate, a McKinsey would come in, they'd send in a couple of their top people, they'd work there for 6 months, they'd charge $1 million, and they'd put in place the strategies and the operational processes and structures to turn around the business for free. And the Jewish community here is so extraordinary that I had a sense people would be only too happy to. So I got 12 friends around a table very quickly and we started doing this. So I just had a sense it was a real model here. And so I started building and developing, etc. And it's been 10 years. I mean, we've got, I think, just under 700 mentors who we have in our database. Not one mentor has ever said no to me. Do you understand how ridiculous that is in a very meaningful and special way? Often people say, what's in it for me? Can you imagine a Jewish South African saying, or even thinking, what's in it for me? Everyone says, sure, I'd love to help.
Why is the Jewish community so successful? What drives that success? And from the Jewish community, a desire to be engaged and involved and accepted within the mainstream of what's going on in this country. And I arranged a workshop where we got a number of senior people from both communities together. And out of that, the realization came that something which the Jewish community does very well is mentorship. And what we need is to connect that spirit of mentorship and volunteerism and wishing to give back to those in the community who haven't had the same privileges.
I've been personally involved in mentoring over 1,000 businesses through the AltJet network. And I've seen what's possible. I see what happens when you team up a mentee with an appropriate mentor and the enormous impact, the turnaround. It's extraordinary. So I said, imagine if you could recruit 100,000 mentors, what we could do to this country. And understand if we could mentor 1 million businesses, we could add 2 to 3 jobs per business. That's 3 million more people with jobs. Now we know the average African family that has one breadwinner feeds 8 to 10 mouths. That's 24 million people are suddenly fed. I said to the community, isn't that worth thinking about? Isn't that something that's worth dreaming of and trying to operationalize.
I was fortunate that I met a friend that works at Awetu, and she mentioned the National Mentorship Movement, and I thought that is something that I would need in my journey in business.
We're currently in the middle of a pilot with about 60 mentors. We're working with the organization, the Awetu Project, which is an incubator. And so they've experienced both in the startup space as well as in the requirements of mentorship. And it's been a fantastic relationship all around, with incredible commitment of amazing people at very senior levels wanting to give back and to make this work.
Just to have an hour or two with these people at that level is truly amazing, because they've traveled the journey, and essentially, when you're in business, it tends to be lonely, and when you find people that have quote-unquote arrived, that are willing to spend some time and have a conversation, it is honestly priceless.
Talking to my mentee, I was petrified to meet him the first time. What can I teach this smart guy, streetwise, been around, experience that I have no clue about? And it was fantastic to engage with him and realize, actually, I can learn a huge amount from him about that stuff. But the stuff that I know and I don't even know I know, which without too much effort, I can actually share with him and make a difference.
I believe that if you're gonna play, you need to play big. And I think the bigger you play, usually the more impact you make. Because when you have a big goal, it drives you. Whereas when you have a small one, you find that you don't have the same level of energy and people are not as excited to work on that program.
And once you find what you have in common, all of those differences just become the interesting things, not the divisors, the things which keep us apart. And that's exactly what, to me, this experience has been, that you take people from apparently fundamentally different divides, put them together, and you realize they actually basically have the same value system and they want to achieve the same thing. So to me, that's the exciting part of this journey.
With Dave, you feel as if you are sitting with an equal. You feel that he also appreciates what you have to say, and actually he's learning from you as well. And to think that you could still want to learn something from someone who's emerging is really amazing. So it's the humility, it's the wisdom, and sometimes when you think of a business type mentorship, you tend to focus on figures and numbers. But I find with Dave, he's starting from who am I as a person, and what's my support structure, and why am I doing this? Why is this my mission? Why is this my dream? Because what I've seen from a few interactions is that when that is clear, the product and the service will take care of itself.
Paul is incredibly committed. His weakness is not FOMO, it's not fear of missing out, it's fear of not making the contribution that he can do. But fundamentally we're doing this for Paul, and there's some extremely senior people who for no other reason want to make sure that we can assist Paul in fulfilling his vision.
I often say to my kids, the streets of Johannesburg are lined with gold in terms of opportunities for Derech Eretz and doing good deeds. Every robot we come up against, we stop at. There's a poor person there begging for something. It's not about just giving them food or giving them money. Ask them their name, try and have a quick chat with them. They're also people. They also need help. They also need chizuk. So for me, Derech Eretz is not just about the hero moment when one's on stage, and being polite to everybody and thanking everybody for pitching up. But it's really in the quiet moments when people aren't watching. That's for me when it really counts.